with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please remain standing, and let's think about our service men and women that are serving our country here and overseas, and especially Police Officer Billy Samora, who is currently deployed to the Middle East. Thank you. Welcome to the Village Board meeting. Today's Monday, March 5th. It's now 7 p.m. First thing on the agenda, the next Village Board workshop will be Tuesday, March 27th, 2018, and the next board meeting will be Monday, April 2nd. It is now 7:05. Have a motion to open up the public hearing in regards to additional water rate provisions and amending Village Code Chapter 261, Sub 2C.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is now open, Mr. Magrino. The first one. Oh, additional water rates. That's you, I'm sorry. Yep. I saw you walking down. Here we go. Mr. Kraushaar.
Okay. This is a proposed local law to change the fee charged when we have to do a manual reading for customers who sell their house and they need a final reading and they haven't installed the manual meter, so we actually have to send someone out. So it's a proposal to change that surcharge from $25 to $50. And that is the full intent of the statute.
Is there anyone from the public here that would like to speak? At this time, I would like to close the public hearing. Have a motion?
Motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. This time I have the local law amending Chapter 261-21, additional water rate provisions of the Code of the Village of Suffern. Do I have a motion?
Motion. Okay.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Finally, I have the resolution adopting local law number 5 of 2018, amending Chapter 261-21 of the Code of the Village of Suffern, additional water rate provisions. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. I'm going to take the treasurer's.
Let me get him.
Amy, what are we going with first?
Are you there?
Joe Russo.
Joe Russo. We have a unique situation here today, that Joe Russo, Trustee Russo, was unable to make the meeting, and we are in adopting a bond resolution here this evening, which requires the supermajority of the board, and by teleconference, video conference, we're able to conduct the bond hearing. So Joe, are you there?
Hello, everybody. I'm up in Westchester, assisting
Turn me the mic.
with the restoration efforts from the storm. So I'm unable to make the meeting. I apologize.
Okay, Joe, so we're going to present the bond resolution. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Suffern in the County of Rockland, New York hereby resolves by a favorable vote of not less than 2/3 of all the members of said Board of Trustees to adopt a bond resolution authorizing the construction and improvements to the sanitary sewer system, stating the estimated maximum cost thereof is $5,500,000, appropriating said amount for such purpose, and authorizing the issuance of bonds in the principal amount of $5,500,000 to finance said appropriation. Yes. Charles, can you come up and speak on, in regards to the plug flow and the modifications to the sewer plant?
You pull up over here, because I'm in the middle of something right now, okay?
Good evening. Yes, the modifications, upgrade modifications to the wastewater treatment plant, plug flow design, I'll get it right, is a part of the requirement of the DEC. It's a consent order project, and it needs to be completed within a certain time frame. We have an implementation schedule that we would be conforming to. We also have had some discussion with the DEC in trying to make some modifications to that implementation schedule, so that would lend the village be in a much better position to get some grants. There's some water quality grants that should be available the second quarter of this year. So we're working towards that goal. And it's a very large project. It'll be the duration of the project would extend through 2021, the way the schedule is set currently. And I don't know, do you have any other specific questions, or?
Okay, great. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, so this first resolution that I read, for the bond resolution on the sewer project of $5,500,000, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Roll call votes. Moira Hertzman?
Aye.
Frank Hagen?
Yes.
Joe Russo?
Yes.
All right, thank you. We have one more resolution, stay on the line. Mine
You're
is,
forced to
yes.
vote on this.
And, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Just tell them to hold on.
Okay, if you can hold on.
Okay.
Okay, so the next resolution is authorizing the village treasurer to execute a financial advisory service agreement with Capital Markets Associates, the village's financial advisor for the application to the EFC for short and long-term financing. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Joe, thank you.
No problem, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night.
Good night.
Okay.
That was unique, huh? First time in the village?
It's for everyone's, because of the uniqueness of it. This is allowed and is used in many municipalities in New York State, and was actually embodied in state law, that you can have voting by teleconference. There's a bunch of municipalities and meetings by teleconference. The key is that you have to, the audience has to be able to see the person on the other end. They have to be able to interact. They have to be able to vote if that's what's required, all in a public setting. And it happens a lot in villages in Long Island, where some of these boards are basically snowbird boards, where they live in Florida for half the year, but they're still conducting village business in New York. And it was authorized by the legislature, and Bob Freeman, who's known as the guru on the open meetings law, has written and opined that this method of voting is allowable, and it would not be allowable just by telephone. You can't vote by telephone. So you've all been educated just as I was through this process. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Salmon, Fire Department.
Good evening, Mayor, Village Board. Just have two quick things I'd like to bring up. One, we have a new member. His name is Nick Izzo. He's over 18 years old, and he's joined the hose company, so I'd like to put him on the village insurance.
Okay, so we have the motion accepting Nick Izzo into the membership over 18 in Suffern Fire Department Hose Company.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
And number two is, it's that time of the year for the Service Award Program. We'd like permission to hang the stats for last year up in both firehouses.
Yes, has that been posted?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Going up.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good
Keep up
night.
the good job, Suffern Fire Department. Suffern Police Department.
Thank you, Mayor, thank you, Board. A couple of things on the agenda, but before I go into the agenda items, just to give you a quick update. In February, we had 555 police calls and blotters. Obviously, that's for only 28 days of February, so, a good number of calls we had. There were 25 arrests, and one of the things we're working on, I spoke to the board at the workshop about, obviously, due to the nature of an active shooter training and active shooter investigations, we really don't put out our plans and our tactics, how we do them, but I just want the board to be assured that we are working with not only our schools, but some of our larger facilities here in the Village of Suffern with active plans taking place actually this week to go in and meeting with them and going over all the plans and what we need to do to keep them as safe as possible. So we're taking it very seriously, and once again, I think you understand why we really just can't put that information out, what we're doing. What we did do, I went to Monroe, the Village of Monroe today with Lieutenant Lachlan and Detective Sergeant Marsh. Detective Sergeant Marsh is out of he's a team leader for the Rockland County REACT SWAT team. So they're in an active shooter drill in a movie theater in Monroe with Monroe Police, Harriman, Woodbury, and State Police. And we just watched it to see what was going on, because I spoke to Chief Rydell at Roundup Police this morning, and we're probably going to do an active shooter drill together with the town of Roundup Police. Because the reality is, if something happens in Montebello, Airmont, Hillbrook, Stolzburg, we're going to be there quick. And if something happens in the village, they're going to come and help us out, just as Marlboro, New Jersey would. So I just want to let you know, we have taken it serious. I know you were concerned in a good way at the meeting about these issues. And Mayor, I know you would ask me to take a lead on these, and I think we have at this point.
Yes, and you have our full support for any of those training issues or, working with Ramapo or any other town or village here in the county or anywhere else.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it, Mayor Board. On a good note, I'd like to nominate Nick. Where's Nick Caswell? Nick is still in the back, or bring him up in a moment here. I'd like to nominate Nicholas Caswell to the position of full-time police officer, pending clearance from the Rockland County Department of Personnel. Nick is filling a position that has been vacant since last year, and he'll fill this, when Nick is appointed and gets clear of personnel, he'll be filling that position on a full-time basis to bring us up to staffing levels.
Perfect. Okay, so in front of me I have the resolution authorizing and nominating certification of Nicholas Coswell as police officer full-time. Be resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Suffern certifies the nomination of Nicholas Coswell from list number 16097, dated January 25th, 2018, to the position of police officer pending approval of Rockland County personnel. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Good job.
And just, he'll be good, he'll be good. And on a good note, just want to give a background. Nick is a village resident. He's joined by his parents, his brother Mike here as well, one of the officers, and Mike's girlfriend. So I entered this year also. And some of our officers in the back. And I was going to say, and Nick, sorry, Mike's a veteran also. Nick is a veteran, United States Army veteran also. And we're looking forward to having you with us, Nick, and welcome aboard. Thank you, Chief. I just got one more thing to go over, and that is, I'm asking the board, if they're there below, first of all, thank you very much for your support of our police department, even with the active shooter stuff going on. You're putting us up to staffing levels we need to be able to do the job we need to do. I want to thank you for that. The resolution I'm asking for is to authorize Police Officer Abby Adams to attend Officer Survival Tactics class in Oriskany, New York, from March 14th to March 16th at no cost to the village. Oriskany is a location of the New York State Department of Homeland Security, and they offer free courses in many facets of law enforcement that we obviously are entitled to go through in the New York State agency. We'd like to start taking advantage of some of those courses, and we're asking that Abby be authorized to go.
Absolutely. I have a resolution authorizing P.O. Abby Adams to attend Officer Survival Tactics Training March 14th through the 16th, 2018, Oriskany, New York.
Wherever that is.
And I have a motion.
Motion.
I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye, motion passes.
Great, thank you, Mayor Board. And the last thing, technology update. Amy may a little more than I have it now, but I know our website is being revamped. It was suffernpolice.com, and it's now p.suffernny.gov. And it's good, so we'll be able to put a lot of our events, flyers for hockey, different events we're involved in. And honestly, we have a deep, long history since 1896 as a police department. We can highlight a lot of the things we've done and a lot of the programs we currently do. So Amy, if you want anything else, we obviously have a very active social media page, Facebook, with over 15,000 people on it. We have Twitter, we have Instagram for the department. We do a little bit of everything. And I want to thank you, Amy, for setting this up for us with the technology company.
Great.
And that's it, Mayor Board. Anything else, we'll be here for the duration.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your support. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to open up the floor to audience participation. Is there anyone from the audience that would like to speak? You're a part of the audience, yes. Oh, I'm sorry, can you please state your name and address?
Sure, my name is Ira Okon. I live on 21 Hillside Avenue.
Good evening, Ira.
We have a problem with a house that's 2 houses up the street from our house. Presently, it looks like a junkyard. There's a dumpster that's been in the front yard for, we're thinking, somewhere between 6 and 8 months. We haven't seen anything done. So we've contacted several legislators, Ellen Jaffe's office. We sent emails to you guys with pictures, and we don't know where we stand. You know, this has been going on literally for over 20 years. And recently, the gentleman that lives at the house has approached 2 people in the neighborhood, me being one of them, in a very threatening manner. There's a young woman who he approached. We don't know whether he followed her to the AMP or he just saw her out in the parking lot, kind of questioned her for over 20 minutes. She's uncomfortable to be coming forward. And, you know, this is a situation that people have known about. You know, you and I spoke about it when you were first elected. The lawyer said, well, we're doing this, we're doing that. And it seems that not much of anything is getting done. You know, we've been in touch with the health department, his caseworker. He's not supposed to be on the property, and we don't really know what to do.
Well, I think we're going to give you a pretty detailed update this evening.
Okay.
So we've been actively working on it through the building department, through code enforcement, through our attorneys, through Rockland County Health Department, and it was a pretty convoluted ownership of the property and title and deeding, and so who's going to take over from here for the...
Do you want me to start it, Rob, or?
Rob, yeah, why don't you come on up? Rob is our attorney for the village in the building department.
Yes, good evening. I'm familiar with the property. We did, once before, did a cleanup on it a few years ago. The code enforcement officers are here. What's happening now, on February, actually, Randy, I'll ask you to come up also. On February 24th, we prepared a notice to remove violation. The property was posted pursuant to the village code. It was also served on the named, as you indicate, the named people on the deed, two of whom we believe are deceased, and as well as the occupant. And we mailed it.
You know, just for your information, Ira, I believe, and then maybe they can clarify it, is when you serve the summons, it must go to the owner of the property.
Right.
So that was a big hurdle that we had to overcome with the title.
Right, and at this point, with respect to the code, in order to proceed with the code, in accordance with the code, we have to serve the deeded owners, which we believe we've done. We post the property, serve the deeded owners. In addition, I was in contact with someone from the county who was shall we say, an advocate for the current occupant. Now, I understand he's not really in occupation of the property because of, due to Rockland County Department of Health, but I also emailed that person a copy of the notice of violation. So we have to proceed in accordance with the code. The clock has started to run. At the appropriate time, if it's not remedied, the violation has to do with certainly the backyard, the front yard, including the metal container that this resident mentioned, items in the rear yard as well as a motor vehicle that's located there that's basically inoperable. If those items are not corrected within the time frame pursuant to the statute, it would be appropriate then we would come to the village board, ask the village board to take action, including removing these items, and at a cost to the property, basically through the taxes. Now, I know it went almost for a tax sale not too long ago, but it would be our intention to, whatever the cost is, make sure we get that on the tax bill so that if there is a tax sale, it's part of it. But
Right, that property also was scheduled to be sold at auction, and that was another hindrance that we encountered at the same time. Just not making excuses, but it was pretty involved in what was going on in that piece of property. Who owned it, where the owner was, why it was going on the tax rolls.
yeah, right. And actually, Mr. Stark reminded me, we did have, in terms of code violations, we had a full-blown trial. He was found guilty of certain code violations. You know, again, fined, but, you know, you can't get blood from a stone, I guess. That doesn't bring much satisfaction. But I think that this, what's proposed now, the order to remedy and to remove at the cost of, you know, putting it on the tax bill, is really the next step and the next really thing that the village can do to kind of remedy the situation. It's just a matter of, now, the timing. We have to let a certain amount of time go by. If the timing is correct, it would be my intention to ask for a hearing at the next village board meeting if it's not corrected. Presuming it's not corrected in time,
Right.
The timing would be such that we could ask the village board at that next meeting for, you know, permission to go ahead and do what needs to be done to remedy the situation.
Okay.
What kind of timing are we looking at?
Worst case, it would have been 20 days from when it was mailed, which would have been around the 26th, I think. So that takes us into mid-March, and that gives us time to do the hearing at the April meeting. And if it's off, I may ask the board, you know, for a special meeting, but I don't think that will be necessary. But you know, my calculation of the timing would be, we'll ask for it at that April meeting.
Okay.
Can I just ask you one question?
Come on, go up to the mic, Ira, so we can...
I don't know how to address you. You know,
We've downloaded the orders to vacate, and if you talk to the health department or his caseworker, he is not supposed to be on the property. Now, most of the people in the neighborhood have observed him going in and out of the house, which has no electricity, no gas, no toilet. He comes at 11 o'clock, he leaves at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's known to most of the neighbors because he drives a car that has no muffler. And, in the short term, let's get this guy to be gone. 2 weekends ago, he went and got a truck from someplace. There's a gentleman that's moving out of the neighborhood. He's moving to an assisted living facility. His wife has passed away several years ago, and I guess somehow John contacted him. He took the entire contents of this guy's house and moved it to his backyard. He's not supposed to be there. We're all aware of it. We have people that live and work in the neighborhood who drive past it. I understand there are things that take time. I'm in contact with the health department. They said they've issued an issue, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, to board up the house. And I try not to make a nuisance of myself, so I check in with this guy once a week, and he said, we have to go to court, so I'm like, okay, it's gonna take a month, I'm good with that. But he's there, and he's unstable, and my fear is that this is gonna be something that you see on the news. Everybody knew, we all knew this guy was there. And what pushes him past the brink? Andrea was visiting the neighbors, and I'm like, do me a favor, he knows us. He's spoken to several people, and it generally starts with my name. And I said to Andrea, stay away from his house. Okay? So, I'd like a little bit, I don't know what I'd like, some more.
Okay, so let's, is this working? No. Is the owner of the property, Rob, not allowed to go onto the property?
Well, I was just going to address, I'm sorry, I forgot your last name. Ira. Look, the village certainly is not in a position to enforce the county health code violations, and that's, I'm going to turn it over to the chief. Just starting from where we are, he's not a deeded owner, but arguably he's entitled as an occupant to be there. There's really no mechanism for the village to evict him from that property. That's a separate issue. Now, I know that doesn't satisfy you. The village is doing what the village can do in terms of clearing up the property maintenance issues outside. So that's, one aspect of this. The second, I'll ask the chief if you can address the county issue.
Yeah, I spoke to the county twice. Contacted them, I said, we're in a bit of a situation here, can you please guide me? Here's what I'm dealing with, this gentleman on the property, you're telling me you have an order that he can't be within the house. If he's within the house, can we remove him on any kind of trespass or penal law violation? And they said, no, we cannot enforce it. I was told specific, because I'd be the first one if we could, I know you won't talk, we would do it. We were specifically told you cannot do it. It's a county issue, and it's not enforceable, which to me was very ridiculous, but I was advised of that specifically by them, so that's where we're at this point.
Ira, I've been practicing law for a long time. I have to tell you, this is one of the most twisted, complicated scenarios I've ever seen. It starts with the fact that the individual who you're speaking about is not the record title owner of the house. In order to find out what happened to the actual owner of the house, it took 2 years. And it started with this, there were 2 sisters, I believe. One of them died, we knew that. The other one was living...
Mother also.
Okay, then it may have been mother-daughter.
Oh, is it?
She's not a deed.
Okay, I thought it was 2 sisters.
2 sisters.
The other was living in a nursing home somewhere in New Jersey, but no one could locate her. No one even knew who was paying the taxes on the property. It wasn't a bank. If there were a bank involved here, this would have been much easier under the new law for zombie properties, although it just went into effect, I think, a year and a half ago. But there was no bank to deal with. We checked out, we did searches on obituaries, couldn't find anything. Our one break came when the building department found out that the health department was involved here, and the building department got involved with the health department and found out that the other sister had died. And I was able to get from them the name of the lawyer who represented the estate. The lawyer's secretary told me that the individual that we're talking about had his attorney contact the estate's attorney and demand that a deed be tendered, given to him, the lawyer, in that individual's name, which they did. However, it's never been filed. So now you come down to who has the right to do what against whom. According to the title records, this property is still in this sister's name. It was never conveyed to a trust. It was never conveyed to an estate. And the individual we're talking about, although provided the deed supposedly in July, has not had that deed filed. Now, in terms of property rights, we can't enter property without following through with this procedure that's been explained, and making sure that the proper parties are given the proper notice and given an opportunity to cure. So we have gone so far as to name the estate, even though they think they're out of it because they claim that they tendered the deed. It hasn't been filed, so we want to have that route to go if need be. And then we also made certain that the individual that we're all talking about was also served. And ultimately, if he does not comply with this, it will be put on for a public hearing where he will have an opportunity, as well as the estate representatives, to be heard. And if they do not comply with cleaning up the property, then we're in a position to do something. And honestly, with the way that this title is held right now, I wouldn't count on the village ever getting reimbursed if they somehow do a tax sale before we're able to levy the lien.
Cost of the cleanup. Onto the
So
deed.
we're going above and beyond. We have gone above and beyond. This fine gentleman has made this a priority for a long, long time, and a lot of efforts have been undertaken by the building department, by Mr. Magrino, by myself, that you unfortunately sounds like weren't made aware of, but hopefully my explanation to you shows you just how difficult of a situation this was, obviously continues to be, but we're doing everything we can.
And if I could, I don't want to put it into a morass of government, assigning it to different areas, but, what the village can take care of, as I said, is the property aspect and cleaning up the outside of the property. In terms of him going into the house, as the chief said, that's a county issue in terms of him going in and out of the house. The one thing I will say, as a, former prosecutor and worked with the chief for many years, if somebody feels threatened or, there's an issue like that, obviously, the police should be called. That goes without saying, but, if there's some type of threat or if it's appropriate. But, that's, just so you leave here understanding, the village is on track in terms of the cleaning up of the outside. In terms of the inside, that's the person you're dealing with at the county, would be the person to speak with.
Rob, who's paying the taxes?
Well, nobody now, as of now.
Nobody now.
I believe that the sister who passed most recently, I believe was one who had paid for many years up until her passing. But my understanding is there was a tax sale scheduled because he had, the occupant had gone a certain route, let's say illegally, that was put on hold. That doesn't hold us from doing our action, but in terms of the county proceeding, I've actually been in touch with the county tax folks, and their intention is to proceed when they can. As of my last conversation with them, which was I think early last week, they're not at that point yet, but they're keeping an eye on it as well. So,
As an aside, there's 4 other properties somewhere that have the exact same circumstance with the exact same individuals.
Do we know why the tax sale was put on hold?
as I said, there was a legal issue with respect to the occupant. That's what I was saying. In terms of, they didn't wish to go forward. The county determined to pull it from the sale, the rolls.
Right.
But, they'd be in a position to answer that. To be honest, I discussed it with them briefly, but they said they pulled it, and they're gonna, when they can, they're gonna put it back on.
If I call the county, who would be?
On the tax issue, it was Sean Matthews. I have his number, I can give you his number offline.
Okay, appreciate it.
Okay?
Great. Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak?
Hi, Paul Gerard, 2 Cross Street. I guess a procedural clarification on the bond that came up earlier with the sewer project. $5.5 million bond, that isn't something that we would have any kind of a public hearing on?
You want to speak about the permissive referendum?
There's a permissive referendum period of, I believe, 30 days, don't quote me, where if a number of signatures were collected and submitted, that it would have to go to a vote on probably election day.
I'm sorry, I didn't follow that. You need signatures? I'm sorry.
It's subject to what's called permissive referendum.
Okay.
So if enough tax-paying residents, or I don't even know if they have to be taxpayers, I think just residents, were to sign a petition forcing it to be put up for a referendum or vote, it wouldn't go through unless or until it passed at that election.
Okay.
That's the requirement.
So, was there any, I didn't know about this, and I don't know how many people knew about this. I don't recall this coming up at previous meetings.
The process
I'm sorry?
starts now. Yeah, the process starts now.
I didn't hear what you said.
It's posted in the public places. It's put on the website.
When did that happen,
Today. It will start tomorrow.
It starts today. Like, this is the first, this is starting the process. So all those notification things will start after tonight. So that's why I haven't seen it before.
Okay. I thought...
And it's also under consent, so in order for us to satisfy the consent order from the DEC, these are the modifications and upgrades that need to take place within the wastewater treatment plant, which require the bonding to obtain the funding to satisfy the consent. So with that in mind, the permissive referendum starts today or tomorrow. You collect 10% of the signatures. I believe it's 10% of the residents to object to the bonding, and then that forces it to go to a vote at the next general election.
Okay. So how did residents learn more about this project? I mean, I understand that sewer plant is a big issue and it's an expensive one, but just in order to get educated on this, because, I mean, I understood what just happened tonight is we just authorized the issuance of $5.5 million of bonds.
Right.
That seems like we've got the cart before the horse. So you're saying you just authorized it and now there's a process that gives people an opportunity to object to it?
Yes.
Okay, but how do we learn more about it to whether or not we support it or object to it?
How do you learn about the upgrades and modifications that, I guess by attending the meetings, by public notice, by being active in the community? Yes, I'm not sure on how we would notify everyone to the upgrades to the plan.
Let's start from here. Mr. Zawicki, how long ago did the DEC put the village under this consent order?
I'm trying to recall the exact time frame.
How about an approximate?
We're probably talking about a year or more.
Oh, geez, more than a year.
Yeah, I'm trying to go, I'd have to go back through the file. With the original consent order started in 2010.
Yeah.
So we've enacted all the operational consent order items with the exception of this upgrade, which came as a result of the permit modifications, upgrade. They've actually changed the permit to be more stringent, and as a result of that, we were in violation, and as a result of those violations, this was part of that consent order.
Okay, and if we didn't comply with the consent order, what would the ramifications be, potentially?
Well, there's, the DEC is, as I think most people know, a very powerful agency in the New York State, and they can fine the village upwards of $37,500 a day if we're not in compliance.
And ultimately, the village would have to comply with the consent order and make the modification.
Well, ultimately, we would have to, unless we somehow, I mean, I don't know what other options you would have. I mean, there really aren't any, quite honestly. To be able to operate the wastewater treatment plant, we need to be in compliance. And again, as I stated earlier, part of that, part of the compliance is also meeting and maintaining a schedule. There's a certain schedule that has to be maintained. One thing
The schedule of repairs and upgrades.
Well, as they refer to it as an implementation schedule. So the implementation schedule is broken down, on this project, is broken down into 4 components. We completed the first component, which was the basis of design. That was completed, submitted to DEC and approved. Currently, we are in the midst of finalizing the bids and documents, the final design for the project. This week, we have this Thursday, we have a meeting with the design engineers to review the 60% design drawings. The final design drawings and specifications need to be submitted no later than April 30th to the DEC for their review and approval. And we're currently negotiating that's the second component. The third component is the notice to proceed to the contractor. So that would mean we'd have to, all the documents would have to be completed. We have to go out for bids. The board will have to approve the project and select a contractor and actually give him, issue him a notice of approval and then notice to proceed. So that notice to proceed, we're trying to negotiate a little bit more time in getting what we currently have. I'm in the midst of trying to do that with the help of our engineer. And the completion, and then the final component is the final completion of the project. So there's
Right.
very defined.
I know that over years, this has been discussed extensively, from the beginning, from inception, from consent to basis of design, through final design, through the engineering. It's been pretty extensive at each meeting, over the course of years.
Yeah.
These meetings?
Yes, workshop meetings, village board meetings, yes.
Yeah, the original consent order goes back to 2010.
2010.
And then there was, as I mentioned, we've completed certain areas of that consent order. There's also the infrastructure portion, which we completed phase 1. Phase 2 is currently underway.
Right, the infrastructure was part of that consent, was the collection system, the sanitary sewer system, all of that was a part of the consent. The I&I
study, and then the
Right, the
subsequent
studies and-
repair work.
This has been going on for years. Unfortunately, this is what it has come to, where the upgrades and the modifications have to take place. It's a burden to the village, it's a burden to the wastewater treatment plant. That's the only way we're going to be able to upgrade and modify the plant.
And a big reason for this particular project, this upgrade modification project, is, as I mentioned earlier, the DEC has modified the permit requirements, more stringent, and as a result, as I call it, an antiquated wastewater treatment plant is having difficulty complying. So this would bring it up to the new standards.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I guess I'm not challenging necessarily the necessity of the project. I'm simply saying I'm not even in a position to challenge it because I've been to a lot of these meetings, and maybe there have been updates to the project, but I don't know of any forum where there's been any kind of a description of what needs to take place and what it's going to cost. Just for residents to be aware. I mean, we're already over $20 million in debt, and we're going to put another $5.5 million on our backs. I mean, I just think that would be something that the village residents should have a little bit more detail about what's going into that and what's happening. I mean, I've seen, that project that went on last year at the ball field, where we had to dig up, all that contaminated
Right.
soil. I mean, we had, I think...
Public hearings.
We had hearings,
Right.
they had to go through some extensive details to say what's going to take place, how is it impacting the residents. I mean, I would just think that something similar like that would happen when you're going to spend this kind of money. I mean, I don't know if that's procedurally required, but I think it would be, the right thing to do in an effort of transparency. It's a lot of money.
Well, you're right, I hear what you're saying, and I know that over the course of the years that this has been discussed in detail at workshops and at village board meetings.
We've done other bonding on that consent order this year, I don't know about this year, but definitely last year. There was a $500 and something thousand bond. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that you successfully we didn't have to borrow as much money because you got $160,000 in grant money?
Yeah, that's the sewer abatement project. Like a $700,000 project, we got $137,000 in grant money, and then we got low-interest financing for it. For this project, it's $5.5 million. And we got that, just so you know, we got that grant money and that low-interest financing through the New York Environmental Facility Corp., who works really well now with the Village of Suffern and with Charles, and the DEC too. Charles has a good relationship there to try. We're working with them to get the milestones moved out such that they'll be in line with the EFC grant that is supposedly coming out in the second quarter, which is a 25% grant as well. So that would be $1.4 million that we would be getting towards this project. If we get it, which we believe we will, particularly with the consent order, adds a lot of strength to the application. And we're also going for the low-interest financing. That was the resolution that was with the treasurer earlier as well, to go for the low-interest financing. So we'll be saving a lot of money.
Thank you. Paul, or Mr. Gerard, I should say. I totally get what your point is, but I also want to point out that the reason why they're going for the largest amount is it would cover ostensibly the entire next phase, which is the biggest phase of the consent order project. Interest rates are going up, so you're locking in the interest rates. It enables you to show the DEC we're complying, we're going out to bid, we're bonding, et cetera, but it also buys us time to utilize the resources of individuals like Fred to try to seek the financing. The ultimate goal is not to use $5.5 million. The ultimate goal is to try to reduce the need to use as much of that money as possible, but at the same time, keep DEC happy that we're complying with their consent order. And that has, as Fred explained, worked well of recent past, and we are going to continue to try to do that. But we do have this anvil hanging over our heads that's been hanging over our heads for a long time.
No, look, I understand things cost money. I don't remember a meeting similar to that one I was describing with the contamination that went through a project like this.
The contamination project had a lot of interaction because it was an outside agency that was going to take control and remove the contaminated soil. We've had repeated meetings about the state of the sewer and the wastewater treatment plants, the fact that they need extensive repairs and upgrades.
I'm not challenging that they do.
That has been left to run aground. So this $5.5 million bond is for the projected total cost of the project, some of which has already been paid, some of it remains to be paid. It's a long-term project, and it's what it costs to bring it up to serviceability. And that hasn't been hidden from anybody.
Right.
It's been
If you listen to what I'm saying, I'm not challenging the cost. I'm not challenging that things cost a lot of money, especially a capital project like this. I'm talking about just allowing the residents to be a little bit more informed about an extensive
We've talked repeatedly.
Extensive and expensive project like that.
And many meetings about the state.
Well, maybe they were, maybe they were fragmented, I don't know, and they were talked about specific aspects of the project, but in totality, I mean, I don't know if there's any forum to explain to residents that there's, you know, a $5+ million project to go on the water treatment plant, and here's an opportunity to come and learn about what is entailed. I don't think that happened.
Okay.
Okay, is there, speaking of capital projects, is there any update on the paving of 202 from the state and the associated sidewalk project as far as timing, or?
Charles, can you speak to those points on the paving project, the 202 and the sidewalk grant funding?
Okay, I spoke with the DOT today, and I'm actually going to meet with their engineer of record, I guess it is, or chief engineer, who's going to be assigned to that project. As I said, I'm going to meet with him tomorrow. What he had indicated to me, the project has been let out for bid, has not been awarded as of yet. The date that they have in their bid documents for a final completion is July 31st of this year. So I explained to him, I've written letters and we've gotten some correspondence back and forth. I explained to him about our grant project and the need to interface and coordinate with them. So we're going to be doing some of that tomorrow. The unfortunate thing for the village in regards to this grant is that the grant authority has to conduct a environmental certification in the area that has no sidewalks or curbs. There's a
portion of 202 that doesn't have the sidewalks or curbs in front of the apartment house. So that has to be studied for environmental impact. We cannot expend any of the money, any of the grant money to the study until that is completed by the county. Is that accurate?
That's right, yeah.
So in order for us to do the sidewalks, the county has to do the environmental, but we want to make sure that the state does not come in and repave 202 before we get the sidewalks put in. So that's the dilemma that Charles and we're working on, trying to orchestrate it so we get the sidewalks in first before they pave. Now the deadline is July 31st for completion, or going...
For completion.
For completion, but they just went out to bid.
The bids, it sounded like, and I have to get clarification, it sounded like they have selected a contractor or in the midst of reviewing the bids, but they haven't issued a contract. But one thing he did say, and maybe gives us a little flexibility, is that the work would have to be done this year. So there might be a little wiggle room on their end.
On the scheduling of the paving.
Right. So, you know, it's up and, you know, like this whole environmental certification's been going on for months, and
you can't start the project if you can't even we cannot expend our funds, our grant funds, to fund the environmental study without jeopardizing the grant.
The feasibility and engineering portion of it. Right?
Yeah, yes. I mean, we thought that there might be the opportunity that
if we spend that money, we lose the
engineering, but we can't even do that. So we have to. So what the order of events that need to take place is this environmental certification by the county. The engineer that was selected by the village to prepare the drawings and documents, we then have to go out, you know, we'd have to get approved from the board. We'd go out for bids, review the bids, select a contractor, award the contract, and then of course do the work. So that, you know, there's you know, quite a number of things that have to take place before we can complete the project.
Okay.
Okay. Public hearing on the budget, do we know when that's taking place yet?
I don't have the timeline with me. No. Sorry about that.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was the date we had to call at this meeting or not. Do we know when the tentative budget will be available to the public?
No, not at this time, no. What's the deadline on that? March 31st? No.
30 days. Yes, March 31st.
Possibly March 31st.
We're
We don't have
doing
the timeline on it, and Mike's not here.
Yeah, okay.
If you have any questions, email them over to Mike in regards to the budget. He gets back to you.
Yeah, I foiled some information, so I'm going to wait till that comes, then I'll have questions, but, okay. Oh, you mean on the timing?
Yeah, on the timeline.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because we have a whole timeline that's straight out.
Okay. I thought he'd be here, but I figured I'd ask you anyway. Okay. All right, and then, are there any updates on this vacant seat?
I interviewed numerous people. I received numerous applications. I had one individual that was going to take it and backed out. So that's the update, and I'm still pursuing other candidates.
Okay. I assume any of us that haven't heard from you are
Say it again?
I said, what about those of us who haven't heard back from you?
I spoke to you. Are you speaking about yourself?
Yes.
Oh, I spoke to you, didn't I?
No.
At my office?
Well, no, we met,
Yeah.
but I meant, I haven't heard from you in 3 months. I would assume that in 3 months, there would be, out of courtesy, to say, hey, sorry, you're not going to be on the village board.
Haven't made a decision yet. I'm not going to disqualify anyone if it is, well, you know what, maybe the other person was, once that decision was made, then that would have been a possibility.
Okay, all right. I would have thought if it was this long that I would hear something. Okay, I got you. All right, that's it, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak? Good. Okay. This time, Culture and Recreation, Kathy?
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
A few things that we have coming up. Tomorrow morning at 10:30, we have our nutrition workshop. It will be in the community room upstairs at 10:30. We have Incero ShopRite supermarkets coming in, and they're going to do a nutrition workshop and talk about some great things, so we look forward to that at 10:30. Then the newsletter. We have a lot of content. We're getting ready to send the newsletter. We're hoping to send it out this week. It's going to be a great one. We're really looking forward to getting it out there, getting the information. We're getting people really interested in village news, village information. So the first one went great, and we're looking forward to more. So that's coming up. On Tuesday, March 6th, which is tomorrow already, Young Life will be using the community center for basketball. That's at 6 to 8. Then on Wednesday, but this might end up changing because I'm hearing, Chief is just telling me we're expecting some snow this week, more than I thought, unfortunately. Wednesday, we had a recreation board meeting scheduled Wednesday night, but that is to be determined, I'm guessing, in the snow. The Chamber of Commerce is having an event on Saturday, March 10th in the village. It's the Leprechaun Crawl, I guess is the name of it. It's going to be a great night in the village. Everyone is encouraged to attend and have fun. You going, Maura?
I'm not going to be here
Okay.
on the 10th.
Give me some money, I'll go to the bar.
On Thursday, March 15th, Narcan training. I received a call today, Mayor, perhaps you and I can talk tomorrow. Did Scott reach out to you? Scott?
Yes.
Okay, so tomorrow we'll talk?
Okay.
Okay. But that will be at 7 p.m. in the auditorium here. So that's with Senator Carlucci and Mayor Markunas' office, and we're looking forward to that. Upper Connor School was a fun, great event, which hasn't happened for a couple of years. But I reached out to the school. The second grade is going to have Community Day, and our village departments are going to go up there and represent the village, teach the children what we do here. Mayor, you're going to be a big hit. We have our village historian, our PD, our fire department, our Department of Public Works. A whole bunch of us are going to go up and we're going to talk to the kids and have a great day up there. So that's at Connor on the 16th. The Dare Dance will be on Friday, March 16th as well. It'll be a busy day. That'll be the last one, I believe, right, Chief? March 16th. Elaine says yes.
Are they dressing in green?
The Poetry Club, who we host up in the community room, will be there on March 17th, which is Saturday night at 6:30. And our first big public event for families will be the Egg Hunt and the Breakfast with the Bunny. Will be on Saturday, March 24th at 11 o'clock at the gazebo. I just went over to Sacred Heart tonight to drop off flyers for the little kids to do the flyers for the coloring contest, so we're getting some great feedback on that. And then Sacred Heart, I'm sorry, Amy, I have the permit from them, I'm waiting for the insurance. So they're going to do Stations of the Cross up Lafayette Avenue to the church on March 30th at 5 p.m. So that should be a nice event for the village. And then for discussion, so as we spoke about last time, we have a director and an assistant director for Clifford Theater. At this point, I'm asking for permission to hire a musical director. I met Helen Conrad a couple of weeks ago. She's a very nice person, great experience. She works at RCC. She's done a lot of productions at RCC and around the county, so she'll be a perfect fit for Clifford. So if we can go forward with that to hire a musical director, then Clifford Theater will be all set. And then, not at the April meeting, but after that, we'll be able to promote which show we're going to be doing. So,
Okay, so I have the resolution in front of me authorizing Helen Conrad to serve as the Clifford Theater Musical Director, July 9th to August 5th of 2018, with a total salary for the summer position in the amount of $1,100. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to
I'll second.
hire Helen Conrad.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
thank you. And the second item that I have for discussion, there's a gentleman named Paul Haley. He is a recent college graduate. He came to the village 2 years ago and wanted to do a summer writing program. And we had it under works, and it just didn't happen. He had other commitments. We had other commitments in the community room. He recently graduated from college, and he is now a substitute at the Suffern schools. He'd like to do this again. It would be up in the community room, and I think it sounds like a great addition. I'll find out more information, but I just wanted to bring that up. And it would be a summer program, so it would be probably June or July, depending on which time frame works. 4-week program, maybe 2 nights a week. As a village event, as a village, we're looking to get kids involved more. This might be a nice opportunity to do that, so.
All right, yeah, let's talk about that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Great.
And that is all I have for this. Let me just look at the other agenda. The newsletter, Helen Conrad, the Little League. At the last meeting, Suffern Little League attended, and there was a village meeting with Suffern Little League. We do have to follow up with that. We're trying to get more information from the Little League, so that we're looking to reschedule another meeting. So, that's...
Okay. So that update for the athletic field and the request for application will follow up tomorrow?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, sounds good.
All right.
I just have one question.
Yes.
Did anybody go to the community center last Friday?
It was the community room upstairs, the night of the storm.
Yeah.
I'm hearing that there wasn't anybody unless...
I called it up with Frank when he got out. I just looked in there, no one was there as yet.
Right.
And everything after that, so.
All right. Okay.
Well,
That was a good idea, opening up the community center.
That was great, yeah.
Community room, excuse me.
There was a lot of village out.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
I think the power came back on relatively soon after
Thank goodness.
we opened it up.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Let's keep it in mind for the next storm
Yeah.
on Wednesday.
Oh, my goodness. Let's hope it does not come to that. And that's it. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you. Yeah, to talk to these points, the village clerk.
We can just go over the resolution, right?
Okay. Virginia is not here with us, but I have a resolution establishing a parking permit category of merchant monthly vehicle parking with overnight privileges. So let's see. Pursuant to Article 5 of 254-29, the Code of Village of Suffern, parking permits are required to park in municipal parking areas. Then the fees are to be determined by the Village Board of Trustees. And now therefore be resolved, the Village Board of Trustees establishes the parking permit category of merchant monthly parking with overnight privileges with an associated permit fee in the amount of $160 per month, effective March 5th, 2018 through May 31st, 2018, with applicable restrictions as defined on the parking permit application. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion passes. Next is I have a resolution establishing a parking permit category of non-resident monthly vehicle parking with overnight privileges. Village Board of Trustees establishes the permit parking category of non-resident monthly parking with overnight privileges with an associated permit fee in amount of $160 per month, effective March 5th, 2018 through May 31st, 2018, with applicable restrictions as defined on the parking permit application. I have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I have a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Can I ask a question first?
Oh, yes, sorry.
I thought I remembered, wasn't there a different rate for non-resident?
Yeah, that was established last month.
Because it's showing the same rate.
Merchant and non-resident
Oh,
are the
okay.
same.
Resident.
Okay.
Resident
No, I remember now.
and resident
Fine.
commercial are different.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
And these categories are for the D-lot only.
That's it.
Okay, Mr. Magrino, can you say a few words in regards to this special permit and the application process? For the administrative special permit use application process development.
There are certain categories in the code where a special permit may be issued by the village board. A special permit, by definition, in a particular zone, a use in a particular zone may be, is either authorized or you may be required to get a special permit. In essence, a special permit means the board has already determined that's the type of use that's permitted in a zone, but it's not as a matter of right, I shouldn't say a matter of right, you have to go through the process. Basically, we've just come up with a way to go through the village clerk's office, set up that administrative application, if you will, so that when a person does want to apply for a special permit, there's a set process. We really didn't have that. It was kind of murky, so we're in the process of developing that, and, you know, Amy has really developed that, so.
Okay.
I don't know if she wants
It's
to
only
comment.
for certain special permits.
Right, and it's only for special permits such as outdoor dining or outdoor use of tables.
Planters, chairs,
those types of
tables.
things, right.
And potentially
And acoustic
acoustical entertainment.
Right, music, et cetera. Again,
Very-
smaller type issues that don't necessarily have to go to a land use board or a village board necessarily.
Thank you.
All right.
We can just announce it.
And the last item on there is D, Parking Department Office Transition Project, which we are still currently working on. We're currently working on it, and the parking department we expect to be moved up to Village Hall. Okay. Department of Public Works. And we're gonna update the digester boiler replacement project.
Okay, good evening. Yes, the the wastewater treatment plant, we're replacing the digester boiler. The old system had 3 boilers, 2 which were dual fuel, 1 was natural gas. We're now replacing them with 2 larger dual fuel boilers. That project is moving along well and should be completed by the end of this month. We also
So
had...
just to talk about that digester boiler replacement, so the digester boiler, I've got really educated on this digester boiler, and the function of the digester boiler is to aid in the process of digesting the effluent, right?
Yeah, the sludge.
The sludge.
Yeah.
And at the same time utilizing the gas that's produced in the digester, so we're not purchasing the gas from Orange and Rockland. At the same time, we're able to reuse that gas and burn it with less of a cost to the village, so we don't have to purchase the gas.
That's correct.
Right.
I would say that majority of the time, say 90% or more, we will be utilizing the digester gas. run the boilers.
Right.
There might be some periods of time during extreme cold temperatures that we may need to utilize natural gas from O&R, but that's going to be greatly reduced. The sludge, the digesters are maintained at about somewhere between 100 and 110 degrees, so that that biological process breaks down the sludge, and at that point, then it goes to dewatering, and then ultimately goes to the Solid Waste Authority in Hillburn.
Right, so just for everyone's information that's here, is that the biofuel or dual fuel burners that were in place were not operational for years.
Well,
so this is...
Yeah, well, what happened there is they had quite a history. They, as I mentioned, 2 were dual fuel,
right,
that utilized the biogas, but because over time, they essentially reached a point of disrepair where we try to maintain them the best we could. We converted everything to natural gas over the last year or so, just to be able to get by until we were able to replace them. So for the last year or more, we were essentially it was all natural gas.
Right.
Any of the digested gas was essentially burned off by the flare. So now that all changed, and we will greatly reduce the amount of natural gas that we're going to consume for the digestion.
Yeah, I saw the project. It looks great down there.
Yeah.
It really does.
It's coming along. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, the other project was at the wastewater treatment plant as well. There was a drain from the digester building that, it's over time, it really became a problem, and it failed essentially for the most part. There was a big hole in it. It created a problem. It discharged into the basement of the digester building. We shut everything down, made a temporary repair. That temporary repair has held up until now. So what our remedy was to, because of the fact that it was down 8-10 feet in depth below grade, and when we did first discover it was during the very cold period of right after the New Year, where we had probably about 1.5 foot of frost. So we decided that the best alternative would be to go in and line the pipe. However, because of the age of the pipe, and there was a significant buildup of tuberculi, mineral buildup inside the pipe, we're unable to do that. So we're going to look at what other options we have. Obviously, one option would be to excavate and replace it. Mm-hmm. We're going to look at other options as well.
Okay. Great.
Had some discussion with the plug flow modification project. As I mentioned earlier, on Thursday we have a meeting with their design engineers. We're going to be reviewing their 60% drawings for that project. The sanitary sewer abatement phase 2 work, be closed circuit television work, and majority of that work is done. We ran into a little bit of a snag on Washington Avenue. There's a section of the pipe that's reverse sloped, and it's essentially filled with water. We tried to shut down the pump station for a period of time to see if we can evacuate it, to get the camera in there. We're unable to do that. So we might have to look at, we have to check the inverts. Based on the information we have, the inverts do indicate that there is a reverse slope, and again, based on what we saw. So we have to review that and see how we're going to proceed. But majority of that work...
That's just for the inspection?
For the inspection, yeah. Right. So what we have to assess is we may, rather than spending a lot of additional money to do the investigative work, we know we have a slope or an invert issue, and there apparently is, from what we were able to see, that the pipe is in bad shape. So one option might be just to be able to just go in and replace that section of pipe, rather than spending a lot of money on trying to investigate it and study it. So we know there's some problems there, and we'll try to come up with a solution. Let's see, what else we got? We talked about that environmental clearance on Wayne Avenue. You know, we're still waiting for the county on that. And that's pretty much it in terms of updated projects. I'm requesting payment authorization for application for payment number 3 from Hauser Brothers, Inc. for the wastewater treatment plant digester boiler replacement project in the amount of $83,656.24.
Okay, so I have the resolution authorizing payment number 3 to Hauser Brothers, Inc. for the wastewater treatment plant digester boiler project in the amount of $83,656.24. Do I have a motion?
Good.
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passed.
I am requesting authorization for the mayor to execute the New York State DOT 2017-2018 municipal snow and ice agreement in the amount of $18,759.64. So that, this is an agreement that we have with the New York State DOT to plow DOT roadways, and this year, this agreement came quite late. Normally, we would like to see it sometime in, October, November, but we came late this year.
Okay.
Usually comes late.
So I have the resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a municipal snow and ice agreement with New York State DOT for the period 2017 through 2018, to be eligible to be reimbursed in the sum of $18,759.64. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, motion passes.
I am requesting authorization to solicit bids for the water department chemicals for the period including June 1st, 2018 through May 31st, 2019.
The resolution authorizing Charles Sawicki to solicit bids for water department chemicals for the period of June 1st, 2018 through May 31st, 2019. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just that the bids will be due March 26th at 3 p.m.
Is there any way that we can piggyback on anybody else's bids for water department?
We looked at that last year,
Right.
and I tell you what, I think we did well. We did well with soliciting the bids last year.
Right.
We definitely saved the village money. Sometimes the, going off either a state or county or, piggybacking off their bid list, sometimes you don't get the best price. And I think, with the vendors that we've been dealing with through the years know the village, and it seems like we get a better price.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
I am requesting authorization to send DPW employees to the Hudson Valley Excavator Safety Seminar on March 14th, 2018. The course will be held at Rockland County Community College, Suffern, New York, with no cost to the village.
Okay, I have a resolution authorizing designated DPW employees to attend the Hudson Valley Excavator Safety Seminar, Dig Safely, 811 training to be held March 14th, 2018 at Rockland Community College. So a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
I am requesting authorization for Mr. William Barish and Mr. Joe Hunt to attend the CSEA Peer Trainer course on Friday, April 13th, 2018. The course will be held in Verona, New York, with no cost to the village.
Okay, I have a resolution authorizing William Barish and Joseph Hunt to attend CSEA Southern Region 3 Conference for peer training.
Excuse me, before you finish your resolution, we have a little conflict on dates. The peer trainer is March 27th to the 29th.
Oh, boy.
Saratoga, one paper.
All right, well, that's not what you gave me.
I gave you both. I'm just saying, I don't want to make a resolution that we're only going to one.
No, we're gonna have to confirm the dates then.
I have the dates confirmed on that email. I thought I gave you two documents. One for Saratoga.
March 27th.
We never talked about Saratoga, so all right, so we want to try to address that tonight?
Sorry for the communication, it's on my part, I must have given the wrong communication.
Do you want to, he has a,
Do you have it?
do you have the information so we could do a motion?
I have to put in an email.
Can we read the email?
I have the paperwork.
Do you have the email?
Just tell us the dates, and we now know Saratoga.
Yeah.
Saratoga Springs.
It will be March 27th to the 29th.
So we just changed the resolution.
And it's still at no cost to the village.
No cost to the village.
And it still relates to peer training?
Peer training.
What days are the 27th through the 29th?
It's,
That's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Saratoga Springs.
And then there's a separate one, Joe, for,
in Verona, the 13th, which is Friday. It's actually a 2-day course. We're giving up our own personal Saturday to attend that.
All right, hold on. There's 2 training sessions?
yes, so we need a
Okay,
motion
so
for
there are
this
2
one.
resolutions.
Okay.
This
hold
is
on.
one. That's the first one that he just advised us
Well,
of.
why don't we just go with the first one that we just
Because
read?
the dates are wrong.
That 13th through the 15th of Rome?
And it's in Verona.
Oh, jeez.
March before April, but we're gonna miss out.
What's the date?
The April 13th is still good.
April 13th through the 15th
So you
is
can
good.
vote on that one, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, that's still good.
Yeah.
We don't miss out on March.
What he's saying is there's one missing. So we
There's
can-
one missing, yeah. So the resolution that I just read, authorizing William Barish and Joe Hunt to attend CSEA Region 3 Conference, April 13th through the 15th in Verona. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Number 2 will be the same attendees? Same attendees, okay. Resolution authorizing William Barish and Joseph Hunt to attend CSEA Region 3 training,
Yes, sir.
peer-to-peer,
Peer trainer.
okay. Dates in Saratoga, March 27th, 28th, and 29th.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Aye.
Thank you for that, Joe. Okay. All right, Mr. Kraushaar.
Actually, this will be, Mr.
Oh, is that Mr. Negrino?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Resolution, intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Amherst.
Note for the record, I'm recusing myself on this matter.
Yes, good evening again. We discussed this last time. In the past, the village has entered into an agreement with the Village of Airmont whereby our DPW would provide maintenance and repair on a as-needed or as-requested basis for Village of Airmont vehicles. I believe they only have, Joe, 3 or 4 vehicles?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just have put up a proposed agreement for authorization for the village to sign. The previous reimbursement was for, I believe, $75 an hour or $70 an hour. We're asking it to be increased to $90 an hour. I emailed with the Village of Airmont village attorney, and he seemed to be in agreement with that. They are voting on that tonight, so assuming they vote on it, this is
Right.
what we're voting on, but it's basically just authorizing us to provide those services. It's, you know, they pay for everything, obviously, and reimburse us the cost and all.
Okay, so we have a resolution authorizing the agreement with the Village of Airmont to provide service, Village of Suffern to provide service to the Village of Airmont vehicles in the amount of $90 per hour. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? This looks, the governor looks favorably on these types of agreements that are codified in writing for shared services through villages and towns, and so it looks good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, so we gave it update on 27 Hillside, and a Little League field agreement update is that the village attorney, myself, the village clerk, deputy village clerk, and the Little League have been in correspondence and met with each other in regards to field agreements and use agreements. So we continue to provide updates and work with the Little League in that fashion. Trustees, Mr. Hagen.
I got one. Myself and Dan Kraushaar attended a ribbon cutting at Good Sam Hospital February 22nd to announce the launch of their new angiography medical imaging equipment for the image-guided therapy. Dr. Leahy, the physician in charge of the project, as well as the radiology and vascular surgery physicians and staff, presented the new platform that includes hardware and software improvements designed to enable clinicians to more efficiently perform complex interventional procedures. The 3D equipment can evaluate nearly every artery and vein in the body to determine if there are any blockages and thereby clear the blockages and remove plaque. This is the latest technology, and Good Sam is the only hospital in this region that has this game-changing equipment. The use of minimally invasive surgical procedures has grown rapidly in recent years, not only in radiology, but also in fields including cardiology, oncology, and vascular surgery. Minimally invasive technologies has even given rise to a whole new hospital segment, the hybrid operating room, an operating room that includes imaging devices to enable surgeons to use either traditional or minimally invasive techniques. The Village of Suffern thanks Good Sam Hospital for leading the way in healthcare in our community. It's a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Doctor?
C. Dr. Hagen.
Okay. Moira?
Sir.
Good? Chestnut Street Park maintenance, we had a lengthy discussion about Chestnut Street. We received an email in regards to it. I believe Chestnut Street Park is cleaned daily.
Can Joe come up and do an update?
Joe, can you give me an update on the cleaning of the park, the daily cleaning and the Wednesday afternoon cleaning, is it?
And also what he did, what you guys did today at Mountain Works.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. Yes, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, the park is clean in between 5 and 6 a.m. Sometimes a little later if a truck fails and we have to push it out. Wednesday is a paper day, so we start at normal time 7. We usually get there after the run, so in between 11 and 1, it's clean before we go home on Wednesday. Again, I stay late at times when I pass that park. It's High Kindergarten Park before dark, so there's a lot of families that do have lunch or dinner or a snack in there, and you know, sometimes we get it in the morning and it's devastated. My guys have taken pictures at different times, but we clean it. So in between 3:30 and 6 a.m. the next day, we have an open hole.
Right.
I do have double baskets in there and a recyclable bin, blue, that obviously doesn't get used by the pitchers. Looking at Thursday, it would have been done in between 5 and 6 in the morning, Thursday morning, and we wouldn't touch it until again Friday, unless we're aware.
Right.
And sometimes when you drive by, there's trucks there, so we can't see the park because of the Iron Chef. So again, my quick views, driving around on my way home or to a meeting late in the afternoon, I can miss things.
Okay.
Sorry that we had to get
That's
this
good.
email this way, but again, going forward, we will be proactive and look before we go home.
And even looking at the parks today overall, how we evaluated the parks and the drainage and trees down after the storm. You want to elaborate a little bit on
Yes,
that?
my total attentions from the guidance, my director, we react to taxpayers' needs. So my main objective since Friday, after the storm ended, has been trying to keep our roadways open and get electric to the houses that are needed, and protect the ones that we couldn't get to. Because again, O&R was looking at high-volume areas like downtown's business districts before they went out to the general public. So this morning, before I even did my assessment on parks, I made sure my houses were still good. The river has a tree in it. I made sure debris wasn't growing to cause any kind of flooding issue, even though the water levels are still low, way below flooding. And then I ended up calling in Trees Inc. to come in to take care of our trees down. At the interim, my refuge guys went to the garbage because it was a light garbage run today, and they attacked LPL, or the running track park. And they started doing other parks. Well, I had other crews that had crewed 2 30-yard dumpsters of debris from the storm throughout the tax base. So we still have a couple piles here and there that we might have missed. Again, don't hold that to me. We're going to get them tomorrow before the storm.
All right, you're looking good. The village looks good.
Yeah, it does.
After the storm, you guys did a good recovery.
DPW open for power, because we did lose a police car with a tree storm.
Easy now.
Well, now we also have other issues.
I didn't bring it up, man, it wasn't me.
I parked it there on purpose.
Was he with us? Yeah. Joe, why don't you give us a quick update on the New Jersey Transit meeting that took place?
February 20th.
The disaster.
The meeting was not a disaster.
The meeting was great, but the disaster is it's going to be a prolonged project because I worked with B&B for the last 5 years.
Let's think positively.
The positive is that the DPW will take care of it. No, the positive is they did have a lot of interest with you and Deputy Clerk being there, Amy, with the shared service and the joint ventures, everything that you said to the guys, they jumped aboard, and they really look like they want to help us. And they saw our concerns, especially mine with the flooding and the electrical. So moving forward, I do have Albright coming in tomorrow to start addressing some of my issues.
Good.
Again, because at 440, we're not allowed to touch that. I'm pushing my luck at 120, working on electrical, but anything over 120, I really don't want to put my guys in jeopardy. So I have like 5 projects that are coming in tomorrow to oversee. I have to add another one because that police car that damaged my building when the tree hit it. It ripped the wires out of,
That's staged. That was staged. That was an act.
It's a PD car, that's all I have to say, no. The wire that went down on the police car ripped out of my building, and I lost the power to the corner, which I have my compressor and my cameras. So I have to, while he's here, he's gonna do a quick assessment and give me a quote on that too.
Okay.
But besides that, I think it all went well, and I'm looking forward to working with New Jersey Transit.
Yeah, the meeting, we discussed in detail a lot of items, garbage on the tracks, the lot repaving, the drainage issues which you spoke about, the striping and the numbering of the parking spots, which is a concern which has been coming up, that residents or communities are not able to identify the numbers on the ground, which were, that will coincide with the paving, the repaving, and the restriping. Tripping hazard on the cement on that platform. Remember, we looked at that whole trench that they dug and filled. I guess they were running fiber optic up there. The electrical issues. There were a lot of issues up there at the rail. Garbage bins, snow and rain flowing onto the Chestnut Street sidewalk where it overflows. That's going to be addressed. possibly a kiosk upgrade. They participate in the Adopt a Station program. We're waiting on information on that, where we have volunteers adopt the station to upgrade I guess the confines of the station, not taking away union work. Just want to throw that out there.
With that said, to adopt a station, I like to move forward and work with Recreation on Adopt a Park, since now it's public, being the acting unit president, just to have the kids come out once a month or once every 6 months or 3 months to do a community service project.
That's a great idea. So let's get together with Kathy and we could start to talk about that.
You know, again, my kids are going through it now, and they have to have so many in-service points to graduate.
Right.
I think it'd be a positive thing that you step off and bring these kids in and...
That's a great idea. Great idea.
High school.
So, thanks. Thanks for all you guys do, the DPW. I mean, you guys are always there for us, so keep up the good work. Thanks. Okay, where are we now? Oh, my God.
The outside lights replaced today.
The LEDs.
Great, I want to tell you, when I came in today.
Right.
Just walked outside and they look beautiful. There's a lot more lumens on the parking lot.
Right, I looked at them.
Thank you for the help us out a lot.
Just so everyone knows, we're updating the entire Village Hall with the exception of this room, to LED lights with a huge cost savings to the village.
Beautiful, nice difference outside.
Right. Yeah, great. Thank you. Okay, we're winding down here. I'm running out of words. Okay, I have a resolution here authorizing the mayor to appoint Ann Rizzo to the permanent position of Assistant Court Clerk. Ms. Rizzo's appointment was pending the Rockland County Department of Personnel's scheduling a civil service examination for the title of Assistant Court Clerk, and Ms. Rizzo passing of said examination. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes.
She scored 100.
She did score 100, right? Okay. A brief update on the DASNY, and the DASNY is the Dormitory Authority of New York State, and GOSA is the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery. We had a meeting on Tuesday, February 27th. That's in regards to the funding provided to the Village of Suffern for storm hardening of the wastewater treatment plant, rebuilding wells number 2 and 4, and installing a generator here in Village Hall and a generator down at the DPW garage. And I believe 100% of the drawings are due, Charles, April for DASNY and GOSA? April. All right, so that's moving along. And an update, we're working once again with the cadets, the senior cadets in West Point, on a telecommunications projects here. They're analyzing all of our services that come into the building for telecommunications and cable vision and computer lines. So we're working on a nice project with them. That's it. That's my update. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.